Unit 7. Listening Part 2. Exercise 2.
So I'm going to talk to you about adventure racing as my part of the project. Adventure racing's a sport you do in teams, and I got interested in this because I actually took part in one for the first time last year in the north of England with the rest of my family, and we were racing against lots of other teams made up of people of different ages. Anyway, I've done some research, and what I found out turns out to be much more interesting than I expected. The sport's been around for some time. There were races as far back as 100 years ago, and some newish ones which were started in the 1970s and 80s. But really, people have been doing adventure racing in large numbers since the early 1990s, and it's one of the toughest sports you can imagine. Unlike marathons or pentathlons or those sorts of things, where the winner's the individual runner who finishes first, in adventure races, the winners are the first team of 4 to 6 people, depending on the race, to all get over the finishing line together, and in many races, one of the rules is that the team must be made up of an equal number of men and women, 2 or 3 of each, depending on the size of the team. Anyway, it's not like just going jogging or running or something like that. These races combine a mixture of different activities or sports: running, swimming, kayaking, climbing and cycling, to name just some of them. I've been looking a bit at the teams who win, and one of the things I've noticed is that the winning teams tend to contain specialists in different skills, such as climbing and kayaking, and that seems to give them an advantage. The races are organised in all sorts of different places. Occasionally they're organised in cities. There's a very famous one which takes place in Chicago, in North America, but the majority are held in mountains or deserts. This apparently heightens the sense of adventure and actually makes the race more hazardous, because the course runs over an area which has little in the way of roads, certainly no telephones or hotels, and probably very few inhabitants, so competitors are really isolated and on their own. Of course, they do carry a radio, so they can call for help if they run into real trouble. Well, perhaps it won't surprise you, but I want to do more of these races, and one of the goals I've set myself is to go to New Zealand and do one of the most spectacular races in the world, the South Island race, where you run, cycle and kayak for 160 miles through mountains and down rivers. If that race sounds hard to you, and I guess it is, remember it only takes about 24 hours to do the whole course. I say only because some of them go on for as long as 10 days. Now that's really extreme. At the moment, I'd say that 2 or 3 days would be my absolute maximum in terms of endurance. Competitors have to carry everything they need with them: clothes, food and drink, the lot, and if they run out, they just go hungry or thirsty. On long races, my impression is that the greatest problem is just staying awake, because there are no fixed times for breaks, so teams tend to go on racing for as many hours as they can. In fact, I've heard of people falling asleep while they're riding a bike, and that, as you can imagine, can be really dangerous. Just to finish off, another interesting fact: many people who are at the top of their sport in other fields are now taking part because they find that rather than competing as individuals, as they've done all their lives in sports stadiums and the like, they need to work as a team and help each other, and they find this very motivating. I think there's often quite a learning curve for other sports professionals.